Hey, Mason here. So, patch notes came out, had a look through them. POE2 DB now has some gem data, and I have been looking through this. There's some stuff I want to just talk about, so in terms of what I'm going to league start. So currently, there's kind of two choices for me. One is CorruptingCry Warbringer, running rolling Slam Totems. I played this in SSF before, so I'm pretty familiar with it. The other one was the Gemling Mercenary crossbow, like Ballista kind of thing, with pin and stuff. Playing that, not Gemling, sorry, playing that new Merc, a Tactician, whatever it's called. And kind of just weighing between those two. As for the Minions Lich build, originally I was thinking of that, but the entire Ascendancy is all offensive, at least for Minions. So my main concern is that in POE2, defensives are much harder to come by. And so it makes me kind of feel like I should also probably lean towards playing something else that's not like purely glass cannon offensive, because I obviously don't like to die much. And the main other thing that concerned me greatly was in the patch notes, if I just pull up the forum, it has a specific line in the patch notes that says that all minion has been rebalanced. And that's like a big, big concern. So if you just type in minions, I think it was like around here somewhere. Oh yeah, right there. It says adjusted minion damage and life scaling. Same early game, lower than before at high levels, especially past gem level 20. So obviously, everything got nerfed. And we can maybe have a look at POE2 right now, whether that actually makes a difference or not. But I'm just not too confident in, like, will minions be good? Like, they probably will be good. I'm just not very confident in the amount of damage they do compared to previously, since POE2 does not really have their damage at all. It's not very useful at all. So, very hard to gain a good understanding of this. Between the two other builds I was weighing up, so it would be the Ancestral Warrior Totem build with Rolling Slam and then CorruptingCry for clear, or this Mercenary build with this bunch of pin stuff. I'm just going to quickly run through calculations on how much damage like each lost or how much damage each will do. So we can see here, Artillery Ballista, which would probably be my main skill. It says here that it does 30 to 79 of base. I will quickly just say, I went in game and looked right now, and you can see that it says attack damage is 119 for level 19 gem, and 282 for the explosion. So you have to combine both. But I think you'll probably more consider the explosion. So the artillery is the landing of the projectile, and the explosion is the actual explosion of the projectile. So if you put that into a calculator, which I have done here, you can see that it's about 2.3 times the base damage of the actual artillery itself. With that information, we can now have a look. You can see here that it says attack damage is 30 to 79, and previously it was 40 to 125. So the base attack damage has been nerfed, but the explosion is not given a damage value, but we know that it's 2.3 times. It's probably going to be kept the same. So based on that, we know that 79, which is the level 20 gem, times 2.39, 2.35, 180 will be the base damage of the actual explosion itself. It also fires 3 projectiles, so ideally we want these to overlap to maximize our damage, so we times this by 3. So it would be doing 500% attack damage, basically on the artillery when it lands and explodes. So that's how much this will do. That's for one totem. You can have 3 totems max, so you would times that by 3 again. And so each volley, so each of your 3 ballista totems shooting, which will each shoot 3 projectiles each, and the total damage of all of them shotgunning on the boss will be 1.6 thousand. This is per volley, and it says they have an attack time of 2.5. Alright, and I'll quickly just show you that these numbers have been shown. And you can see that the gem level scaling, 200 at this level, but it does get up to 690. But on Mercenary, I don't think you'll be able to get that much because you can't dual wield maces for +2 melee gems. So the end result is you get +7 from your weapon, and then you'll get +3, 1, 2, 3, +3 from your amulet. And I don't think, if I quickly check Craft of Exile, I don't believe there are any ways to get projectile gems on here. So it's only melee gems, you can see here. So this kind of makes me lean towards... we can basically check. You can check how much damage we actually do. So we start at level 20 base gem. We plus 7 because my crossbow will have 7 projectile gems. We plus 3, we go to 30. And then that's it. We basically capped at 30 because there's no other sources of getting gem level. So our base damage, we'll just take the low roll because it's just easier that way. Will be 295. I'll just write both actually. It's fine. This to this, and the gem damage will be 1,000 damage per volley. So per 2.5, and this will be 1,000 like attack damage. Right. This will be the volley damage for the tactician. Just like a rough estimate kind of thing. So the next thing to look at would be totems. I'll just quickly note that this is tactician. Spelled it wrong, but whatever. So rolling slam actually got a buff. We can see here that the first slam does 300, the second slam does 600, 650, like the high roll, or we can just go 80 and 160. And over here it goes to 90 and 180. So they actually added 20 onto this number, the low roll number. Actually goes up to 700% now. And they added this, like a tiny bit on the main thing there. The main thing here is they actually changed this to 1 second additional attack time. So this is actually a very big deal because previously it was 1.5, which means basically your totems should be attacking 30% faster. So I think the calculation is probably very similar to the attack speed. Actually, no, sorry. There's no information about attack speed here, so it's kind of hard to tell how often the totems attack. But I do actually have a totem set up, so I'm going to quickly hop in to see the attack speed of the totem. I think it's around 2.5. You can see that it's use time. Well, it says use time, but you have to click on here. So it says 2.3, 2.4 is the attack time for this, and they're taking off half a second from it. So we can assume it to be 2 seconds, which would be around 20% more damage. But yeah, based on this, you can see that 2.4, this is the amount of damage it's dealing. It's dealing the first hit and the second hit, which is like 4,000 damage. And the main thing with this particular setup is that it can get up to a very high amount of gem levels. You have plus 14, so you start at level 20, you get to 34 from your 2 dual world maces. Then you get to 37 from your amulet, and then you get to 39 from your gloves. So it's actually very realistic to get to a very high amount of levels on melee skill gems. Meanwhile, on the artillery ballista setup, it's actually quite hard because you can't really get past 30 unless you use that arbiter gem called Prism of Belief, which is obviously it's like very expensive, right? Not really realistic. So based on this, we can take these values. We'll take the first hit, which does 300 damage, and that matches these two values. Here's 360 and 735. So it'll be these two added together, which is like 4,000 damage. I'm just gonna round. It's gonna be like 5,000, I think. But we'll just go like. So 4,800% attack damage. And this is every 2 seconds. Because of it's 2.5 on my character sheet, we're taking away 0.5. It will probably be around that. Now the question will be regarding base damages. So Ancestral Totem, if I just look up Ancestral Totem. It's not coming out. I think it's Warrior Totem. Yep, here. It doesn't have any base damages on it. Like the League doesn't, the data mine from POEDB doesn't have any of the values here. So, but Shockwave Totem does actually have its values. So we can see the max amount at level 40 is 299/499. And if we hop into POB, which is not updated, so it will have the old gem levels. We type in Shockwave Totem. You see this, it says 141 to 212. If we crank this all the way up to level 40, or we could just go like 39, it says 1.2 to 1.8 base damage. And we crank this up to level 40, it's 1.4 to 2.1. If we look at Ancestral Warrior Totem, which is what you'll be putting the gem into, you can see here that it matches the same amount of attack damage that Shockwave Totem has. So based on this info, I'm going to take this and basically assume that Ancestral Warrior Totem's base damage has been nerfed to the amount matching Shockwave Totem. Because we can see that previously they matched, so I don't see why they wouldn't match for this particular case as well. So, based on that, we now have its base damage of 299 to 449. And it does this much damage per 2 seconds, which, if you want to convert this to 2.5, we would just times it by, I think it's on like 20%. It's times by 0.25, which I would just do to just convert it. So we're just going to convert this to attack time, amount of attack damage done in 2 seconds to amount of attack damage done in 2.5 seconds. So that would just be times, it would be like 1.25. So 6,000. And then we'll just say per 2.5 seconds. So these are what you're comparing. This is the rolling Slam Totem. Now, on the Merc tree, so on the Merc tree, pinned enemies cannot perform actions. That's whatever. Projectile damage builds pin. That's not damage. But the main one is this: watch how I do it. Allies in your presence gain attack damage equal to 25% of your main hand weapon's damage. So, your crossbow, I'm going to assume it rolls probably similarly to a... Well, we can probably test it in here. I think POB is probably better for this. If I just craft an item, amulet, we would craft a crossbow. Just take like one of the better ones. Actually, one of the top ones. Yeah, this one has the highest phys damage base. And then we just add like physical... Those are ruins. We can just do triple physical ruin. And then physical here. And then physical. And then physical. Like this is like absolute best in slot, like min-maxed, right? I'm just curious how much this value actually gets to. And I don't think there's anything physical here. You probably want like projectile gems, or you'll want plus 7 projectile gems. So 900 flat physical DPS, and the Merc node says gain attack damage equal to 25% of your main hand weapon damage. So they would gain 25% of 900, which is just a rough estimate, and that would be an extra base of 200 damage. So you take these base damage values, you plus 225 onto that. So resulting, we'll just take the lower end. So we'll just go 291 plus 225. So 500 base, and we'll take 299 as the base. Alright, so based on what's been discussed, I'm still more inclined to play the Warbringer setup. But I will quickly just run through what actually has been nerfed for the CorruptingCry setup and the Totem setup. So Brutality got nerfed by 10%, but that only applied to Seismic Cry. Swift Deflection got nerfed by 5%, also only applies to Seismic Cry. Hopefully that the Warcry mana value goes down so that we can actually use a higher level, which means that the base damage on it is a bit better. So hopefully that will compensate for that. As for the Totem, this setup has a 5-link. Heavy Swing has not been nerfed, but Conk Effect did get nerfed. Inspiration also got nerfed, but hopefully the Totems have less mana cost. And Martial Tempo, which would be your last support, also did get nerfed a little bit. But remember that the base attack time for the Totem went, instead of plus 1.5, it's plus 1, like the attack speed. So that should help a lot. And also Rolling Slam did get a damage increase. So, like in the end, nothing else has really been nerfed like that much. Like banners have been buffed, they have a bunch of new supports. This hasn't been touched, this I don't think has been touched. Berserk is still not touched. Time of Need not touched. Cannibalism did get nerfed, but that's fine. Shield Charge didn't get touched. It's just a travel skill now, so you can't use it with Blink, but we didn't really use it with Blink anyways. Warcries have a few more interesting supports, but nothing that really caught my eye immediately on glance, so I'll have to have a look into it once we actually get into game. But another thing that has been nerfed actually is the Split the Earth node here has been patched, so you don't actually take this on totems anymore. But you can just take like some bleed. Like this bleed node here is really good. This small path here. You can just look for some bleed to take. There's like a few random bleed nodes in different areas. Some of these sockets have been moved, so you'll probably lose a few sockets, or you'll repath the skill tree. I was thinking of pathing through Unwavering Stance, but that's to be decided. But aside from that, it's like not really that big nerfs. I think Totems went under the radar because not that many people were playing it. And this CorruptingCry Warbringer set did not seem to do anything that was too unethical for GGG standards. So as a final conclusion, just raw values of the gem itself. The key here is that there's no supports being included, and the pinning supports are very strong. They are extremely good. Some of them are like more damage against immobilized enemies. There's a bunch of pin support that I haven't really looked into because we kind of ran out of time. But just mathematically, seems to me like the totem setup is still pretty decent. You'll probably take double the time to kill a boss, maybe more, likely more. My guess is probably 3 times the amount of time. Previously, I could kill Zesht 4 in 20 seconds. It'll probably end up killing Zesht 4 in about a minute. Hopefully quicker, but we'll see. But Warbringer really appeals to me a bit more because it's actually not taking any offensive nodes. You're taking defensive here, Total Charm, Renly's Trailing, and you're taking Warcaller Bellow and Great Howl for clear. Not to mention, you also have very good rage uptime because of Infernal Cry plus Raging Cry. So there's free damage there. You can have Berserk on your weapon swap, which gives you even more rage effect, and you don't get the downside. So personally, I am probably leaning more towards playing this. So yeah, I'll just wrap it up here. The TLDR is that I still think... So the TLDR is that, 1, I was going to play Minion Lich. I've decided that I don't want to play Minion Lich because I think it's too glass cannon. Yes, there's the new defensive energy shield node for Lich. Yes, it's good with at Serious Disdain. It's also good with this newly changed node up here. Heavy Buffer got changed to now make it so that your damage goes through your energy shield. So it's good, but the 2 main things I think are an issue with energy shield is that there's no recovery because you lost Grim Feast and you lost Shock Siphon support. So you have to rely on recharge, which is very clunky. I'm not the biggest fan of that. And so that's the first one. And if you're taking that, you're not taking damage on Lich, which is the entire point of going Lich is for damage. You need the Curse Explosion to help minions clear, and you need the damage. But you have to drop one of those because you need 4 points to get to the energy shield node, the special one on Lich, on the right hand side, if you wanted to go defensive. So personally, I really like the Total Charm Renly's training setup with Savalan for 87% effective block. I was thinking either I build Evasion or Armor, not sure yet, to be decided. But you could probably get up to like 95% damage, like Avoidance, which would be pretty funny. You're probably better off building Armor though. And it seems to do more damage than the Tactician Merc setup, which we have looked at today. Although, remember, take it with a grain of salt because there's no support gems being included, and support gems are extremely important in your damage scaling. But yeah, that's my personal experience. I will also mention that the Artillery Ballista does full fire damage. All damage gets converted to fire. Meanwhile, which means that you can't use bleed, right? Because you need physical damage to bleed. Meanwhile, the Warbringer setup does full fizz, so you can actually still bleed. So there's still some sort of like aggravate bleed. Like there's some few interesting notes down here. There's like a bleeding. There's like bleeding aggravate on enemies when they're on jagged ground. Jagged ground enemies take 10% increased damage. Like a random like bleed nodes here. If they add a new bleed cluster, it's probably going to be in this area. There's some like pretty decent bleed nodes here. Aggravate bleeding here. It's like random just bleed nodes that are probably pretty decent. That basically don't get used because I don't really think there was that many people playing bleed last patch. So yeah, that's the conclusion. Conclusion is that I'll be studying CorruptingCry Warbringer. I will just put this POB in the description below. But I have not really spent time to edit it because I'll be honest, the skill tree is entirely changed, so I have to basically have to redo this. But as soon as that kind of gets online, as soon as I get some playtime in, I will put out a POB, and I will put out a video probably covering what I've learnt. But yeah, luckily locked in, Warbringer, CorruptingCry Totems, and I'll see you on Leaguestart. Good luck!